Brad Marchand has continued to speak out about the trade that sent him to the Florida Panthers, and we're going to be breaking down what he had to say in his first press conference with the Florida Panthers. We're going to be talking about that, as well as a very interesting quote from Elliotte Friedman, which detailed the events that went down and the contract extension that was bound to happen for Brad Marchand that led to the trade. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video. Before we get into it, though, we're currently sitting at 6,344 subscribers. We're pushing towards 7K. Your guys' support's been incredible lately, and we still have so much more to cover from this trade deadline. So if you're looking for all of your Boston Bruins news, be sure to hit that sub button if you haven't already. But without any further ado, let's get into our first quote here from Brad Marchand, as he did have his introductory press conference this morning, kind of talking about kind of everything that went down as a whole, rather than just being asked outside of a press conference. This is what he had to say. We obviously were working to try and get an extension done, and Sweeney said it the other day, there was a gap. We both felt that we had the position, and ultimately we did not get it done, Marchand said, but I do want to kind of clean up, because I've seen the last few days, just the narrative that's been going around. I want to kind of set the record straight. I don't have any will towards the management group, towards Sweeney, Cam Neely, or Charlie Jacobs. He continues to go on to say this, yeah, sometimes they work against you, but that's why I believe Sweeney is one of, if not the best general manager in the league. I watched him for a very long time excel at his job, and for those who are in the organization, you would know the effort he puts in every day and how hard he works. No one would question where his loyalties lie, and that is to do what's best for the team every day. And when you're a part of that group, you feel it sometimes. And like I said, every guy has their day, and it's obviously not what you want to have happen, but I don't hold it against him or the group. It's just part of life. It's part of the game, and he also did create this opportunity for me to be here. So I'm grateful beyond words for everything that the organization has done for me. Now, some very interesting quotes here to start it off. Once again, Brad Marchand saying it's nothing personal, saying that it's business, and that's what we've been hearing from Brad Marchand for quite some time, when it even comes down to the beginning of his contract negotiations here in this most recent offseason. He spoke about the uncertainty, but hopes to have something done, and it's all business. But continuing on, as you know, it's very likely that NHL players do not burn a bridge. You never know what's going to happen, but he does hear credit to Sweeney and the rest of the staff, and Cam Neely, Charlie Jacobs, for the job that they've done. And really, to me, what this is telling me is that there was no plan for a reunion after this season. Although Brad Marchand will be a free agent, still can sign another contract elsewhere. Could be with the Bruins, could be with the Panthers. He's going to be a UFA, so he can test that, but it doesn't seem like it's bound to happen that he returns to the Boston Bruins. And that's going to kind of come into play as well with what we have to talk about Elliotte Friedman here in a few minutes. But Brad Marchand continued on. He said, I've had an incredible run in the organization, and I'm extremely proud just how things went there. So yeah, it was very disappointing that things didn't get done, just because obviously I love the organization. I wanted to stay there, but at the end of the day, I also know that business is business, and every player has a shelf life, regardless if that's when we want it to be or not. And once again, Brad Marchand kind of continuing on, saying that he really don't know how much time he has left. He can kind of take a guess, but it does make sense that in a business where you're giving out millions of dollars to players, and when someone is 37 going into a contract that they're looking for 3 years, that is a very tough contract to justify. And that's kind of what I discussed here in the most recent videos when we're kind of touching on all of this, that the Bruins obviously wanted him back. He wanted to be back with the Bruins, but the financial side of things just didn't, I don't want to say didn't make sense for the Boston Bruins, but they found it very hard to justify, which is a very fair point. And, with kind of having all of these, reports and quotes from Don Sweeney and Brad Marchand come out, it does make sense that when we're looking at this trade, they sent him where he wanted to be, somewhere he wanted to be. He mentioned that the Florida Panthers were really the only spot he wanted to be. And looking back on it now, the Bruins didn't get an all of a bad return, because you never really know. He's a UFA, he may retire, he's injured, and the possibility of getting a first, it does make sense at the end of the day, but it just, sat wrong with a lot of Bruins fans. Now, one more thing that we have from Brad Marchand here is what he was touching on with the playoffs and where they could have been if this season had gone differently. He said, if we were in the playoffs at this point in time, we'd probably be having a much different conversation, and I know that. Marchand said on Friday's trade, it's something we had talked about previously, but we weren't, and at that point, very tough decisions have to be made, and one thing that I always respect, I told Cam and Sweeney this, they have the job to do, and they have to make the best decision for the team, and I completely understand where the decision needs to be made. And once again, Brad Marchand, such a professional answer, and obviously he was never going to come out and trash this management, trash this organization that gave him so much. And although it may not have been the best building of a team here by Don Sweeney, by Cam Neely, he's mentioned that they have a job to do, and if that included trading him, it made sense. And I do love that answer from Brad Marchand, even though how much it sucks watching from an outside standpoint now and watching him in a different jersey. The pictures just still seem so weird to me, and even looking at these thumbnails that are on these videos, it really just is crazy to see him in that attire, and I don't think I'll ever get used to it. But Elliotte Friedman had come out and also topped a bit of this. This all comes from the Boston.com with Connor Ryan. All of this is from his article, so be sure to read the whole thing. Very interesting to kind of go over these quotes. But Elliotte Friedman said on 32 Thoughts, the podcast, that he had an idea of what the contract looked like, or at least something along the lines of what an extension was trying to be. And this is where things get a little bit squirrely in this whole trade. And when we're looking at the contract, this causes a lot of concern for any team looking to sign Brad Marchand in here in this offseason. And this is what Elliotte Friedman had to say. The other thing I do believe at the end, and nobody has disputed this to me, I do not believe the Bruins were offering a pay cut, Friedman said. His current AAV is $6.125 million. I'm certain the offer was not below that. Now, how much more than that was it? I don't know. I'm certain the offer was not below that. Marchand was not being asked to take a pay cut. So this is very interesting. And we've kind of discussed this in the past few videos that there was not likely going to be a pay cut. I know the Bruins probably didn't want to. I mean, if they wanted to, try and get him on a pay cut, they would have, but they had to respect Marchand's wishes. He had taken a pay cut his entire career with the Boston Bruins team. And it simply does make sense that, obviously, they were going to give him the money that he wanted. And that may have just been a bit more. Marchand, don't know how much time he has left. He's wanted a 3-year deal, and I do think that was probably 7 or above. And when you're 37, this is what I've mentioned as well when it did come down to the contract negotiation videos that I had made before the trade deadline, well before the deadline, that $7 million is a good amount for what we're seeing now, especially with the cap space going up and the whole NHL cap going up. The Bruins were going to be able to do that. The contract would look very similar to what it is now by the time it expired, but the uncertainty of what was going down, of where this contract and where the money had to be allocated in these off seasons at the trade deadline, before they even knew that they would be sellers, it was tough to give them $7 million. And now that's what we're looking at right here. It was not a pay cut. I think that's what it's going to be as well. And I'm curious to see if teams are hesitant to give him that amount after the injury, at the age, and kind of the uncertainty, as I mentioned, about this. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. This price may have been. And obviously, if it's over 6.125, and as Elliotte Friedman's saying here, it was not going to be a pay cut, I'm very interested to see if it'll ever come out. And Elliotte Friedman was not done there. He said, however, there was a gap. There was a sizable gap. Nobody out there would confirm to me what that gap was, but I think that the Bruins reached the line. It's kind of the same thing the Lightning did with Steven Stamkos. They reached the line and said, this is as far as we're going to go. And, it really does, smell of the exact situation that Steven Stamkos was in. And, it's pretty similar when you think about it, too, that he was their longtime captain, and kind of the same thing here with Brad Marchand. But, looking at this now, I'm very curious to see if anything else will come out of this. I'm curious to see if, a leak may come out about what this price was. I'm sure we're going to see, at least in the offseason, about what Marchand is kind of asking for. He won't come out and say it, but we'll probably get an idea of what teams are offering him. And we'll see then if this aligns with the Bruins' right decision. See if it was the right decision at the end of the day. But let me know what you think about all this news here. Once again, we have a lot more news coming in about this deadline, and this is going to be a very interesting couple of days, and to see if anything follows from this. But regardless, we still have a few Bruins games coming up soon that are going to really highlight a lot of these new additions on the team. So let me know what you think about the video here, the stuff in this video, and then we're going to be touching on a lot of stuff coming days, and you won't want to miss it. Be sure to hit the sub button if you're looking for all of your Bruins news. But that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.